All right, so I guess we can get started.
We
We
good?
have quite a few people here, and we are at 11:02 Eastern. So I guess good time to start.
All right.
All right, let's kick off. Hey everyone. So welcome to the community call again. This is the March edition, and we are starting our roadmap. These roadmap calls are basically where every month we go through our publicly available roadmap, look at some of the progress we have on the AKS features and so forth. This month, as you might have seen on some of our social outreach, we have some changes as well, which Phil will go through. We are definitely excited to have you attend this session today. Today's session is being delivered by Phil Gibson. He's a resident host now.
Yeah.
Phil is a senior product manager with the AKS team. For those who haven't met him in the last two calls, he has been with Microsoft in various roles for over 16 years. Now, a quick housekeeping here. First of all, we are going to be allowing mics at the end of this call, so you should be able to open the mic and be able to ask your questions or comments there. Just general guidelines here, since we are opening the mic for everyone. Just be welcoming, be respectful, be friendly here, and considerate to everyone else on the call as well. I'm pretty sure everybody is. This is more of just reiterating that there. Phil, if you can move to the next one, we can
Can
choose some of the housekeeping. Um, I guess you skipped the housekeeping slide.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? That was this one, right?
Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome. So, just a quick minute on the housekeeping. As you all know, this call is going to be recorded. It will be available on our YouTube channel for those of us who could not join us live. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel by searching the AKS channel on YouTube. We are definitely excited to have each of you here, anyways. But obviously, if you know more of your friends or coworkers who are working with AKS, please do spread the word. We want to make this a larger community. We want to make this more about the community. You see the ak.ms link here, ak.ms/AKS/community calls. Just pick this link, send them over to your friends or coworkers who are working with AKS. When you go on to this link, there is a way that you can actually add these meetings as recurring meetings to your calendar as well. Just feel free to do that, and that way you're going to be keeping on getting calendar reminders when these calls start off. Now, throughout the call, all the participants will be muted just to ensure a smooth and uninterrupted session. But at the end of the call, we will be opening the mics now. That way, you would be able to ask questions. We do also have several of our PMs joining these calls. So throughout the call, if you have questions, comments, just feel free to drop them in the chat. We also have a Q&A section there, and we will continue responding to you. With the Q&A, there is an option for you to ask questions. If you are logged in from an iOS app, though, the Q&A feature might not work well. You can simply use the chat there, or if you really wish to have use the Q&A section, you will have to switch to a web browser there. Lastly, we would love to hear from you. We would love to hear from you on the content that you want to see from the AKS team going forward. So on this screen, you have a QR code at the bottom right. You can flip your phones out and scan that. There is a quick survey that you can enter. I would say probably takes between 2 to 5 minutes, depending on the amount of feedback that you have. But we are listening to this. We are looking at this very actively, and we are working on bringing the content that you want specifically as we keep on hearing from you on this survey. So that being said, thank you for joining us today. We'll get started with the roadmap call. Phil, over to you.
All right, thank you, Sanket. We got a pretty jam-packed, exciting agenda today, as Sanket alluded to. First thing we're going to do, we're going to talk about some updates. Thanks for all the feedback. A couple of bug fixes, we'll say, but we'll get into that. After we talk about the updates to the call, we're going to get into the deprecation and retirement notices. Then we're going to get into the community content spotlight. Um, Thanks for everyone that sends in all their blogs. We were just cutting hairs, so uh, it's going to be pretty good as far as who won for this month. Next, we got Wilson Darko. He's going to be talking about node auto provisioning NAP, and we're happy that Wilson can join us and provide some information to everyone out there. And then after that, it's going to be very standard as far as going through the roadmap call. I will talk about some updates as far as what we're going to present in that, and hopefully we streamline that process a little better. Before we jump into that, I just want to go ahead and plug the AKS workshops here again. So this is AKS Labs. If you haven't seen this, these are curated labs that go over a lot of topics around AKS. So if you want to level up, go ahead and take a look at these labs. We do have some updates that we're going to share closer to the KubeCon EU timeframe, so be on the lookout for that. But again, if you want to get your hands dirty with AKS and see a couple of scenarios that you can run through, go ahead and visit AKS Labs. All right, so let's get into some of the updates. Thank you. We got a ton of feedback on the call, and we take a lot of that stuff to heart. And we went through this and we talked, and really this call is about you, the community of AKS users. And so we wanted to kind of keep that at the forefront of this call. And so we're making some changes. Some of us here on the team, we actually participate in open source calls as well. So we thought we could take some of those elements and bring them to this call as well. And some of the things that you're going to see is starting off, we have a published agenda now. So if you've gone out to the community call site, you'll now see to the left, you'll see a published agenda. And so that's nice for you to see if, hey, are there topics of interest that you want to see that you can join, or if it's kind of things that you may not be interested in, then maybe you'll skip for that month. But we hope to have you join regardless. Then also, we have again Wilson Darko here who's going to go through NAP, and so if you see our PMs on those calls, then those are chances for you to come in. As we said, we're going to open up the mics, and you can have that direct communication with the PM for those features. Other than that, we're going to share a link here in the next slide here. But again, we want you, the community, to drive the content of this call. And so we're going to have a link, and hopefully you guys give us the topics that are most interested. And then what we'll do is we'll kind of push those to the front as far as all the content that we want to make sure that you're showing up for things that interest you. We talked about the content. I'm sorry, the community content spotlight here. So we'll be announcing March winner. And one thing that we want to talk about here is I think previously we stated that we were going to kind of filter this down for MVPs. We're not going to open this up for everyone. So again, if you're creating great content that is going to be useful to this community, we want to go ahead and highlight that content. So again, so you no longer have to be an MVP, but if you are creating content, then consider being an MVP because again, there's a lot more perks that comes with that program. I talked about we're going to do a more streamlined AKS board walkthrough. So we're going to focus on things that are going to be hot topics and fast moving, and lesser of things that are kind of just lingering out there, so we can just kind of get through that a little easier. And then, as Sanket mentioned, we're excited about this, is really kind of make this more interactive. So towards the end of this call, we'll have the mics open, use the raise your hand feature so we can line up the calls, and we look forward to having a conversation or answering any questions that you may have. So with the updates to the community call, you'll see this is just a slice of what's on the site. You'll see there to the left is the actual agenda for this meeting. And again, we're going to be updating that for each meeting so you can know what we're going to be talking about. To the right, if you see the lower link there, that AKS Community Call topic submission, go ahead and click that. So again, if there's things that you're interested in that you want us to talk about, or maybe even bring a feature PM to kind of do a deep dive, as Wilson will do here today with NAP, go ahead and send that in, and we love to see what shows up. And again, if there's a ton of signal for a certain topic, we'll go ahead and publish that in the agenda, and we'll talk about it. Okay, so first up we have here is the deprecations and retirements. First one here is the AKS GPU image. So if you were using this VHD, know that this has been retired as of January this year. And so if going forward, what you want to do is use the GPU-enabled node pools. And so we want to just update you on that. These next two are around Windows Server. So Windows Server 2019, that's going to be retired basically a year from now. And then trailing that into the next year will be Windows Server 2022. So Windows Server 2025 is out. And so you can definitely start using those for your Windows node pools today. All right. So we're excited about this. This is the Community Content Spotlight. We got a ton of submissions that came in. And as I mentioned earlier, we were really splitting hairs. It was just a lot of quality content that came in. We also, I mean, we actually even thought about having a co-winner because there was so much great content, but we decided that each month it's going to be a winner take all. So we're only going to award this for one person. And so who wins the March Content Spotlight? The drum roll. Sankar, we should get a drum roll soundbite going on.
We definitely need to.
Yeah. So Amit Gupta, he is our winner for March. Amit submitted a blog post on Medium. It was titled Cilium Evaluating Pod Identities on AKS, running the Azure CNI. And this is a really good article. It talks about Cilium, obviously, and then he talks about how to integrate workload identity in Azure Key Vault. So there's just a lot of moving pieces that Amit really kind of streamlines the whole process and puts a good understanding behind it. So again, thank you, Amit, for submitting that, and thank you for creating that content. Please visit his page. He has a ton of stuff. I was actually pretty impressed. So again, thank you again, Amit, and you are this month's winner. All right, without further ado, we're going to hand this over to Wilson Darko. Again, he is our feature PM for node auto provisioning, and it is all yours. Wilson, take it away.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see if I can share my screen. Just some TV magic happening here, but we'll get started shortly. Okay, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see that.
You're broadcasting. Go for
it. Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in your corner of the world. My name is Wilson Darko, and I'm based out of New York City, originally from the Bronx, New York, to be specific. And I'm excited to be speaking about Carpenter in Azure in terms of that experience. There's two versions of it that we'll be speaking on, and putting a big emphasis on our managed add-on in this case. So just to get us started, here's just if you have a visual type of learning style, then this is what the slides are for, right? So node auto provision is a way of auto scaling and scheduling your workloads on VMs or nodes, as we refer to it. Node auto provisioning is our managed add-on of the open source Carpenter project. and we're really excited to bring this to Azure and allow it as a solution for customers from a cost-saving standpoint, availability, and a bunch of other considerations as well. In terms of how node auto provision works, it essentially will figure out what works for your system from a scheduling standpoint, identify unscheduled pods, and then place those on provisioned VMs that it'll create. It utilizes standalone VMs to accomplish this. So you're moving away from the traditional node pool kind of structure that you might have in Kubernetes or for other auto-scaling solutions such as cluster autoscaler. So pretty interesting stuff there. In terms of, kind of just referencing the two types of Carpenter experiences on Azure, the most similar to what others might have experienced in terms of open source or traditional open source Carpenter, that would be our self-hosted mode that is available on our GitHub AKS provider, as you can see here. And this is pretty much out the box Carpenter, as those familiar with it might experience. Whereas we kind of recommend customers leverage the managed add-on, which is Node Auto Provision, which is the bigger focus of what we're talking about here, which simplifies some of that managerial effort and then also simplifies the upgrade experience as well for your node images. So just some really exciting stuff there. Just to double click on the open source side of things, we've had a couple contributions to the upstream Carpenter project. So we've developed our open source provider, as I mentioned, that's available right now on GitHub. So you can check that out and experiment with it. This would be hosted locally within your cluster. And in addition to that, we've had some contributions in the area of disruption budgets by reason and also forceful expiration, just to allow improved experience for Carpenter along the way. In addition to that, we've also hosted some presentations, demos, and other experiences related to Carpenter and Node Auto Provision at events like KubeCon, both in North America, India, and will be in Europe in the coming weeks. So for anyone that's going to be there, looking forward to seeing you there. So just to reiterate, in terms of how Node Auto Provision and Carpenter works, there's a couple kind of big capabilities that makes it new in terms of its experience. So I mentioned how it schedules pods to standalone VMs, but another thing that it's able to accomplish is something called consolidation. The way consolidation works is that it's able to identify either underutilized or empty nodes, and then from there, pretty much replace or delete your VMs to better bin pack your pods into your system. So this should save you compute cost and just managerial effort as well. In terms of what your experience prior to Carpenter and Node Auto Provision might be, you typically have to have one specific type of VM or SKU size that you're limited to per node pool. A benefit of NAP, as we refer to it, is that you're not limited to just one SKU. You can have multiple different VM types, sizes, families within the same cluster, and Carpenter will kind of take the job of distributing your pods accordingly to what would be the best fit for your workload. In addition to this, you could have multiple different architectures that you might leverage, AMD, ARM, what have you, and you can set whatever boundaries as needed for your specific system. So you can leverage topology spread, you can set your own maintenance windows for upgrades, you can distribute your own resource requests. All those things are paired with Node Auto Provisioning and Carpenter pretty well. So pretty much the world is your oyster, which is a pretty exciting benefit of NAP in this case. So let's talk about a couple common scenarios that might come into place, right? So I mentioned how NAP works at the virtual machine level or node level to distribute your workloads and handle auto scaling at that VM level. But there might be scenarios where you have to increase your resource requests, right? Or you might have certain special events that happen that cause you to need immediate scaling or replicas of your pods. You can essentially work with node auto provision with other solutions to accomplish that. In addition to that, you might want some additional cost savings. A big focus for people for node auto provision and Carpenter is the cost savings benefit. And that's where you can really scale that, no pun intended, using spot VMs or instances. And then I referenced the mix of architectures that you can leverage. So we'll probably dive into some of that information as well. So again, just looking at some of these other solutions that you can pair with node auto provision, you can essentially balance Kata with if you have any event scaling needs, and vertical pod autoscaler if you need to adjust your resource requests, limits, and the like. And all of these things can be paired with node auto provision to make sure that you have your full autoscaling needs addressed from end to end. Someone said they're familiar with Carpenter, but this is their first time hearing about NAP. Well, we're glad that you're hearing about it. Essentially, NAP, as I mentioned, is our managed add-on. So it takes that Carpenter experience and makes it even simpler for you as a user. So really excited to get that out. But yeah, so in terms of, kind of pairing these different solutions together, that's something that we've seen customers find success with. And we also have a demo available for that one of our PM team members worked on to just show this relationship between Kata, VPA, and NAP. So very exciting stuff. Now from there, in terms of Spot, as I mentioned, cost is a really big focus for a lot of customers. So being able to leverage the savings of a Spot in this case with NAP is something that people are very interested in. And some of the strategies that you can accomplish to really know, one, how to actually leverage Spot in this case. Essentially, there's different ways, but one common version is just applying different weights during your configuration step to put a bias towards your workloads that might be able to, allow disruption to bias towards Spot instances versus on-demand. But you do have that option of a Spot and on-demand mix. In addition to that, you can better define your eviction policies just to make sure that things are kind of happening as you would expect them to. Carpenter and NAP can be very effective, but sometimes you want to make sure that it does what you actually want it to do, right? So this is a way to kind of test that out. And you can do that using Azure Chaos as well, just to kind of test out some scenarios of, hey, if I do use Spot for my specific system, how will that actually happen? And then if I want to understand from a cost standpoint, you can pair that with Azure Cost Alerts just to get more information as well. And as I mentioned, Spot by itself can offer up to 80% cost savings compared to on-demand VMs when you're using the two. So using that in combination with NAP really can just kind of hyperscale those cost savings. So very exciting stuff. So let's check out a quick demo of what this looks like. So as you can see here, here's a node pool file, which would detail.
Hey, Wilson.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think you're broadcasting anything. There's no share up for you.
Oh, okay. Let me run that back. Yeah, thanks for the flag.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. I see it now. You're good.
Okay, we're back in business. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, so here is the quick demo I referenced. We have this node pool file, which just gives your exact spec. We see a combination of on-demand and Spot and multiple families referenced in this node pool file. In addition to that, you can now reference for your actual deployment a bias towards Spot. You see a higher weight here for Spot VMs versus on-demand, which now directs your system to that. And then from there, you can deploy it. And yeah, it's a pretty straightforward setup, famous last words, right? But we try to offer enough information to execute this effectively. So very good stuff. Now, I mentioned the spot scenario, but you might have some cost objectives in terms of the type of compute that you're using as well. So in that case, you could leverage ARM, AMD, and the like. And with node auto provision, you have the option to set both types or multiple types of architecture in your system rather than having to be limited to just one. So if we look at this example here, we can see just, again, same thing, the node pool file where we have multiple different family types of SKUs that are being showcased. You can also use tools like Node Selector to create a bias for a certain type of architecture. Here we have an AMD that's placed, and then ARM was referenced a little bit earlier. From that, you can deploy these files, and let's see what happens here. Okay, we're going to get the nodes to just see the information. We have these 3 nodes here, and then we're going to use K9s, which is a tool to just observe what's happening in the system. We could look at the pods here and see that they're being provisioned and scheduled. And then let's see what the actual architecture for these look like. Okay, let's describe the node. And as we can see, we have a D family type in an ARM compute for a Linux system. And then we can check another example to see that that one is AMD. Okay, so I mean, that's my presentation in a nutshell. I wanted to show just a few demos of what NAP can look like in the case of using Spot or ARM and AMD mixes, but there's several different ways that you can configure NAP to operate effectively for your system. And as I mentioned, there's two primary methods of using Carpenter on Azure, one being the public repo that we have on the right, and our big emphasis and kind of preferred recommendation, which would be node auto provisioning for customers. Some things to consider in terms of, as I mentioned, what's different between NAP and our self-hosted Carpenter. NAP is managed as our add-on, so it simplifies some of the tasks that you might have to act upon versus the slightly more complicated or sophisticated public repo that you can leverage. But again, whichever works best for you, that's your option. In addition to that, just from a networking standpoint, right now in preview, which NAP currently is, previously in preview, love the alliteration there, right? Previously in preview, we had some CNI limitations for specifically Azure CNI overlay with Cilium, but we've recently expanded that to any Azure CNI setup, with the exception of Calico policies. However, you do have the option to select none, so essentially have a bring your own CNI method. We don't necessarily recommend that, as it can come with its own challenges and also limit your support options. But that being said, if you feel that you can navigate those waters, then that's your business, right? But that's just some basic information from a networking standpoint. And lastly, in terms of our general availability roadmap for NAP, we're currently looking at the around the June time period. I think we had initially planned for an earlier GA date in 2025, but just to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row and that we're at the best quality possible for the system, we opted to just shift the date a bit to work on some things. So that's my presentation, in a nutshell. So any questions are gladly received.
Yeah, we got a couple of questions there, Wilson.
Sure.
Let's see. It was asked, does this work for Windows nodes?
So as of right now, it doesn't work for Windows nodes, but as we approach a little bit after that GA timeline, we're intending to kind of piecemeal support for more tools. So Windows support will probably come a little bit after GA. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah. And we got one other in the Q&A. And we put limits on that so that I guess to make sure it doesn't over provision.
Yes, so you can set limits on caps or minimum amounts of nodes that NAP would provision. And also it does work, as I mentioned, with kind of the affinity rules, anti-affinity, PDBs, all the like that you set. So I will say the quality to which you set those, NAP will honor it regardless, right? So if there are hiccups in those earlier setups, then that could cause unexpected behavior with NAP. But we do recommend just to kind of make sure that those are crisp. And if they are, then NAP will adhere to those as well. So, Sukdev, I hope that answers your question.
Okay, I think that thumbs up is from him, hopefully.
Yeah.
All right. Are you going to be hanging out with us, Wilson, for the call?
Yeah, I could stick around
Okay.
for a bit.
All right. So again, as mentioned at the top of this, we will be opening up the mics. And so again, if you not posted any questions for Wilson, please do so we can just capture them. But Wilson will be hanging around to answer anything additional. Thank you again, Wilson, for that.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. So let's get back on track here. I think I'm broadcasting there. One other thing I wanted to talk about was back on the content submission, because we got a ton, and we're happy that the community is really showing off kind of what they're doing with AKS. I do want to make this statement here is if you are an ISV and or partner and you are submitting kind of partner solutions, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to rate those to be in the contention. So if that is your scenario, please reach out to your channel partners. There's other channels to get that information out. But specifically for this AKS community call, we're really looking for content that is strictly around all the native integrations with AKS. Okay. And so now we're going to get into the more familiar parts of this call, which is we're going to go through the project board. We're going to take a little take. So I'd like to get some feedback on this. But again, we have to state this, that again, some of these timelines may change. And, we're trying to be as accurate as we can in sharing these timelines for these work items out here. Okay, so let's talk about what has happened with GA coming up. We have automated deployments that has been GA for public, and we now have GA for your private clusters as well. So again, streamlining your whole CI/CD process with automated deployments is available. Next, we have the GA for the message of the day. Again, this allows you to update the login banner for your machines in your node pool, and you can do that via ARM or the CLI. Next, we have the emit node auto repair events. Again, this provides this will allow you to see the events during the auto repair phase, and then increases your observability into kind of what's happening, and then you can actually trigger off of those events and build workflows in your environment there. Next, we have the please provide the functionality through the API to force train on node pool. That is GA. So now you do have an API that'll allow you to see all the infrastructure that is happening in your node pool. And next we have, I'm sorry, is that right? Okay, I'm sorry. I think I got a little ahead of myself, but okay. now we're exposing the Node API. So that's the one I was talking about there. And then finally, we have just the Kate's new version. So 1.32 is available to you to deploy onto Azure. Okay, moving next, we're going to get into public preview, and we're just going to kind of blast a lot of these up here. Again, we're trying something different where we just really want to talk about, most of the items that are hot or fast moving. Let us know if you like to see us kind of walk the actual project board or not. We're getting, it's almost 50-50, but again, if we get enough signal on a certain way that you guys want to see that, we'd like to kind of address that. I'm going to start from the left column here, and we'll just walk it down, and I'll go over to the right. First off, we have the cord and block nodes and proceed with upgrade. Again, this is if you get a node that gets blocked during an upgrade, and it times out, this will just kind of move over to the next node, so it won't kind of hold you up. We're looking to actually GA this month, so within the next week or so is something for the information that we've been given. Next, we have the AKS Communication Manager. Again, this provides you with timely notifications on both AKS and their customer initiated maintenance. This is probably Q2, so we have it as H1 of this year. So this is probably going to happen in the next quarter. After that, we have the Azure Linux 3.0 support for AKS. This is available, let's see, with Kate's, Kubernetes 1.30, and this will move to also the 1.31 version as the default image. And this will also be available with ARM64 and FIPS images. And this is tracking for Q1, so it's going to be here soon. Next, we have the AC Store metrics availability in Managed Prometheus. Again, this is going to allow AC Store to send metrics to Azure Monitor for Prometheus. This is again happening in Q2 timeframe, so this is moving along. After that, we have the skip the GPU driver installation. Again, this allows you to skip the default GPU driver that's installed and install your own GPU operator if needed. This is also a Q2 timeframe for that. And then we have the setcomp default and custom node configuration. This will enable your setcomp profiles by default to restrict syscalls. And again, this is happening in the Q2 timeframe. After that, we have the static egress gateway. So this to create a static egress gateway on your node pool. Again, this will allow you to annotate your pods, send traffic via the static egress gateway rather than your outbound type. And this is, I believe this is somewhat out there. We're working on the private IP scenario at this point. So public stuff is working. We're still kind of tooling on the private side. And this will land sometime in Q2. And let's see, we have the service allowed IP ranges. This will help you define your ranges and labels without having the only using the service tags or the IP ranges. This is again in the Q2 timeframe for us. It's actually in launch review, so this is going to happen pretty quick. Also in launch review is the Azure CNI overlay dual stack for Windows support. So again, that's going to provide not only IPv4, but IPv6 support for Windows. This is also Q2, and this is in our launch review for checks as well. So this is almost there, so to speak. And then last, we have the fleet multi-cluster upgrades. Should support auto upgrade, and this is basically allowing the auto starting of multiple cluster upgrades upon the new node image versions. This is going to be around the Q2 timeframe as well. So those are the ones that we want to highlight for public preview. And again, if you have any questions or you didn't see something in that public preview column mentioned, please go ahead and add that to the chat, and we can probably follow up on that at the end of this call. Next is our in progress. So again, this is a little more ways than the public preview. We just got just a handful here. We'll start off with the allow migration from basic load balancer standard. So this is one thing to note is basic load balancer will be retired in September this year. So just be aware of that. But this is going to allow you to create your basic load balancer. Well, okay, so it's going to be retired at the end of this year, September, and you're going to be actually prohibited from creating a new basic load balancer by the end of this month. I know Wilson's on the call. I don't know if you have more information, but I think that is what's tracking. So if you see that you're going to create a basic load balancer, it doesn't work anymore, we've already blocked that from being created on the platform. Existing clusters will be supported. So if you do have your standard, your basic load balancer out there, that won't go away. We won't pull that out of your subscription. This is looking to be public preview in the next month. So I know we've had a lot of people ask about this. Next, we have the allow for migration from VMAS to VMs. This is those availability sets. We're looking to preview this for next month as well. And following that, we have the Azure CNI powered by Cilium. So this is for the Layer 7 network policy support. And this will actually looks to be moving to preview next month also. After that, we have the Ubuntu 24.04 support. That's going to be in preview in Q2. So soon, we hope testing is happening on that. And then we'll finish up with these last two. So the Service Help Probe improvements. We're just waiting on some additional Windows changes for some of the parity. And this is going to be looking to go to public preview next month. And then finally, the multiple load balancer support. Again, this is going to help customers who are constrained by that 300 rule limit per load balancer. And this is going to look to move into preview next month as well. So again, those are the ones that we're highlighting for the in progress. If you are interested in another one in that column, please go ahead and just add that to the chat and we can provide an update. With that, we are at the end. So Sanket, I guess we can go ahead and open up for questions.
Yes, absolutely. So folks, you can use the raise hand feature and and then we can take up questions one by one. You should be able to open up the mics as well.
Yeah, people should be able to unmute themselves if they want to chat. Okay, we got Gillian.
Yes, I had a question about the AKS LB moving from basic to standard. Can you talk a little bit about why that's being done? Or is there any information more about that?
Yeah, so in terms of the basic load balancer, it was intended primarily as like a test or pre-production type of load balancer, not necessarily for production use cases. And we've just found, in terms of the capabilities of standard for the type of experience that customers want on AKS, it just makes the most sense to kind of have that focus on standard. So we're deprecating it, as Phil mentioned, in September. And we definitely recommend customers kind of shift over before that time period. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. I also have a separate question.
Yep.
If that's okay.
Yeah, no worries.
I'd gotten a notification that public IP addresses will be removed from the load balancer in the next few months. Do you guys know anything about that?
We'll probably have to double check on that with the public IP team. But yeah, I could get that information back to Phil and team. And
yeah. Was that an actual an email from Azure stating that?
I think it was an attachment in some sort of internal trouble ticket within our company. So I don't know the root of it, but it
Okay.
was in relation specifically to AKS and the LB. So I didn't see anything in your presentation about it. I was just curious if there was any information. All right, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Just to emphasize, at least the main work stream, as was mentioned, was for the load balancer or the basic load balancer to be deprecated, and then that's happening in tandem to the availability sets deprecation that we're doing. So those would be the two big areas, but we can definitely connect with our networking team to get more details on the public IP.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Yeah. All right, we still got a couple of minutes if anyone wants to chime in or add a question to the Q&A. Going once. Okay. I don't think I see any more questions, any hands up, or any other questions flowing into either the Q&A or the chat. So with that, I guess we're good to kind of close this out. Sanket, anything else that we want
No,
to
we are good. We are
chat
good to
about?
close this out. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Really
Okay,
happy to have you all here.
Thank you.
Thanks all, and we will see you next month. Have a good day. Oh, sorry.
Oh, we have a
We
question
got
then?
one person. Someone raised their hand. Are you still on? Was that I didn't see the person,
I think it was
but I did.
Rod.
Yeah, that was me. That was an accident. I was just trying to react and I hit the right
Oh,
hand.
okay. Yeah, no worries. All right. Have a good day, everyone.
All right. Have a good day, everyone.